The Nintendo 3DS almost cost Nintendo everything. Just 6 months after its 2011 launch, sales were so dismal that Nintendo slashed the price by $80 and Iwata took a 50% pay cut just to keep the lights on. But in 2026, the 3DS is costing you everything. Welcome to Retronomics, the series that follows price trends in video games. Last week, I went over the Nintendo DS prices, and today I'm focusing on 3DS. Unlike the Nintendo DS, the recent 3DS price boom is primarily driven by the sheer number of variants that were released across its 9-year lifespan. Retail prices when the system was new was pretty reasonable. It dropped from $265 to $200, and it had access to a huge library of DS games, and over time built up a really fantastic 3DS library. Today, you can still expect to pay about $100 for a used CIB doorstop 2DS on eBay, but if you really have deep pockets, you can have the Pokémon 20th anniversary from $800 to $1,000 depending on the condition. It's a little cheaper loose, but still, that's a lot. While consoles have had a time period between their discontinuation and collectible period that allows collectors to scoop up most of the library for next to nothing, the 3DS didn't really have such luxury. Nintendo discontinued the entire 3DS family in September of 2020, a time where almost every game system was dramatically increasing in price. 2.5 years later, the eShop would shut down, prompting another wave of renewed interest. And most collectible variants were already pretty expensive when Nintendo announced the discontinuation, but by 2021, even the more common 3DS models like the Red XL version were going for more than $200. Sure, now they're more expensive, but it's not like that these were going for less than $100 complete in box up until a few months ago. The Red XL version has been flirting with $300 for years prior to 2026. But what is surprising is that this increase happened across the board in just a couple of months. We'll get into price trends in just a moment, but first, if you like this type of content and want to help out the channel, please like the video, subscribe if you're new, and share the video on social media. It's completely free and the best way to help out the channel. And if you want to help out the channel purchasing data, you can buy me a coffee or super thanks. Or if you want something more tangible, check out my eBay shop where you can use Retronomics 10 for 10% off anything in the store for the remainder of 2026. With that out of the way, let's get into some price trends. We'll start with the overall CIB price trend starting in 2020, and you can see that the increases are comparable to the other systems that I've been covering so far. Prices increased from 2020 to 2022, but then in 2023 we saw a correction despite the closure of the eShop during that year. Prices increased just a little bit in 2024, unlike the DS, which saw a 23% increase. Then in 2025, prices ended 8% higher at the end of the year, the bulk of the increases happening in November and December, and that trend of rising prices is continuing into 2026, with prices, as of the recording of this video, 5% higher than what they were in November. Sales volume coincides with the price increases as well. November and December are the highest months since March of 2023, when the eShop was closing down. When you look at what people are actually buying to play, you're seeing the most notable titles. Pokémon, of course, but Tomodachi Life is the highest priced game by far on this list, and it increased 12% in 2025. That price might come down a bit when the new entry to the series arrives on the Nintendo Switch in April of this year, and these type of games usually go down when it's released on a more modern console because of the social aspect, but depending on how much the gameplay changes, there still might be a lot of dedicated holdouts to the original. So unless you really want to play this game now, I'd consider holding off until May to see if the price drops as some people shed their copies to play on the Nintendo Switch. While the average increase was 18%, the dollar increase was an average of $40, which is heavily influenced by the Cosmo Black 3DS, which increased $60. When you remove that from contention, the average price increase was under $4 and the percent increase was 13%. And all of this time I'm viewing CIB prices, but if you're only looking for a loose Cosmo Black 3DS, you can see that the price has been pretty consistent across 2025, which could further explain who is actually increasing the 3DS consoles. Are these gamers with deep pockets who just want the complete experience of opening up a 3DS, or are they collectors betting against these variations increasing in value over time? Switching over to the top 25 games that increased the most, like with the Nintendo DS, 3DS consoles have dominated the price increases, with CIB consoles increasing at least 40% since the beginning of 2025 on average. The Electric Blue 2DS with Mario Kart 7 pre-installed rose 120%, but it's not the most expensive 3DS version on this list. That honor belongs to the 3DS Super Mario Black Edition, followed by the 2DS XL Pokeball Edition. The 3DS XL models, especially the more collectible versions, have been expensive from at least the start of 2020, so you're not really going to see them pop up on these lists. The biggest takeaway here is that if you want to collect the actual games, then you're in a pretty good spot, because not only are there a lot of listings under $50, they don't appear to be really jumping that much in price. And that is further justified when you set the filter to listings with at least 50 sales. Just look at the actual games that have increased in value the most in 2025. Wreck-It Ralph, Lego Batman, and Cars 2 outpaced the one Pokémon game, which is less than $30. In fact, when you remove the 14 3DS systems from this list, the average increase in price drops to just about $6. The average price is just $20, and the highest price item here isn't even a game. It's the Circle Pad Pro, which is a pretty niche device that only works on the first generation of the handheld. When you switch to listings that drop in price in 2025, just like the Nintendo DS, there's nothing really to write home about. Ultimate NES Remix, the Select title, did drop by $5, and that is a really good game. Yokai Watch 2 dropped to under $200, probably because people realized that it's not as rare as the third game. And when you take the filter off, Barbie Gloom and Glam Pups, the holy grail of 3DS games, and no, I'm not joking, dropped 32% after two sales in 2025, went for almost half of 2024's record-breaking sale of $3,500. And maybe this game isn't rare after all, or the people who bought it in 2021 for $500 are finally cashing in. Like the Nintendo DS, the majority of 3DS prices are under $50, but unlike the DS, the majority of 3DS listings that are over $100 are actually the crazy amount of 3DS variations. And actually looking into it, there are no CIB 3DSs for less than $100. If you don't care about the box, there's a few less than $100, but not by much, and they're all the little doorstop 2DS, which a lot of people say are pretty comfortable. The cheapest XL model is the blue and black with Mario Kart 7 pre-installed, and the cheapest new 3DS and 2DS are going to run you at least $200 loose. And that's a lot of money to spend on a used console that's 10 years old at this point. Of course, these are all North American versions, and while you could get a Japanese version for less, it will require hacking to bypass the region lock, but I hear that's pretty easy to do nowadays. And that raises the question of why all of a sudden the 3DS is skyrocketing in price. As I mentioned, the DS is getting pretty popular. They're some of the most sold games, and the 3DS is the best way to play physical cards. The variations were always collectible. I have 4 myself, a regular 3DS, 2DS XL, and a new 3DS XL. Also consider that smartphones are starting to get DS and 3DS emulations, and also a lot of younger people are warming up to the idea of having a dedicated device alongside their phone. This doesn't just apply to gaming systems, it applies to almost everything with physical buttons. The retro aesthetic isn't just for old farts like me anymore. I know a lot of people are hoping that this is just a bubble, and while a correction might be coming in the next few months, I don't think that you're going to go see the rare variations drop significantly. However, like I mentioned, if you don't care about the box, the prices of the base consoles didn't seem to be affected by the most recent boom, and if you focus on local listings, you're more likely to find a bundle with a bunch of common games for less than what just a CIB version of the console will cost you. It's hard to imagine a scenario where the 3DS completely bottoms out in price. I mentioned in my last video that there were rumors that the Switch would have DS games, but even still, I think a lot of people want the assurance that the games that they have today remain their games until they're ready to get rid of them. While the Nintendo Online service hasn't delisted anything, it's still a subscription service that goes away the instant you stop paying for it. At least there are dual screen handhelds that can emulate the 3DS, and it's about $250, but it can emulate way more than the original DS came from, and they're actually becoming pretty capable. Let me know what you think. Do you have a 3DS? And if so, when's the last time that you played it? Remember to like and share the video, and if you have suggestions for the next topic, leave it below. Thanks so much for watching. I'm Nick, and I'll see you next time.